The US, despite months of effort, saw its progress wiped away by a sudden attack from Hamas. This not only dashed hopes for Saudi-Israeli reconciliation but also drove oil prices upward. Yet, the most damaging aspect wasn't this. Israel's refusal to comply and its single-mindedness caused the greatest harm to the US. After the Israel-Palestine conflict erupted, the US aimed to swiftly douse the flames. However, Israel insisted on large-scale airstrikes and advancing into Gaza. While the US sought to pacify, Israel persistently provoked Iran, pushing them to act. Now, the US finds itself deeply embroiled in the Middle Eastern quagmire. Biden, Blinken, the Secretary of Defense all visited, but none resolved the issues. Meanwhile, some pro-US countries, amidst this international turmoil, have begun their own maneuvers. In this video, we'll discuss the recent policy changes towards China in the following countries and regions: Australia, European Union, Japan, South Korea. One, Australia, a change of heart. The most surprising move came from Australia. On October 20th, while the US was preoccupied, Australia astonishingly approved the Chinese lease of Darwin Port review. This lease spans 99 years, just like Britain's lease of Hong Kong. Although it's for business, the US sees it differently. They believe that China's presence in Darwin Port could discomfort the US military. What's the story behind this? In 2018, after the fallout between the US and China, frontline nations like Japan and South Korea felt insecure. Core assets, including F-22s, were withdrawn to safer locations. Simultaneously, some deployments were made not too far from China, including the B-52 bombers. These could not only drop nuclear bombs but also launch anti-ship missiles, wielding immense power. In the Asia-Pacific region, the US deployed a total of 6 B-52s, with 5 stationed in Australia. Among the 5 US airbases, the closest to China is Darwin in the north, the optimal location for B-52 deployment. Leasing Darwin Port to China for 99 years would inconvenience future US military actions based there. So, for the past 2 years, the US has pressured Australia to annul the contract, leading to relentless security scrutiny by Australia on China, almost reaching the point of contract breach and refund. Unfortunately, Australia saw a change in leadership. The new Prime Minister initiated a slow warming of relations between China and Australia, and the Darwin Port issue began tilting in a direction favorable to China. Last year, this new PM settled iron ore transactions in RMB. Even the major Guinea's Simandou iron ore, where Australia holds substantial shares, calmed down and started discussing cooperation with China. This trend of easing tensions led to the sudden announcement on October 20th that the review for Darwin Port had been passed by Australia. This decision was abrupt yet executed delicately and with high proficiency. It also indirectly led to the Australian Prime Minister's visit to China in November. 2. European Union, caught in a dilemma. While Western nations outwardly express support for Israel's right to self-defense, their actual attitudes vary significantly. The UK and the US unconditionally back Israel, having dispatched aircraft carriers early on. But within Europe, opinions differ greatly. The EU's initial statement even included condemnation of Israel for cutting off water, electricity, and food supplies to Gaza. France, on the other hand, expressed willingness to support certain military resources, targeting hospitals in Gaza. Is this a call to deploy military doctors? The reason for such contradictions within Europe stems from population concerns. European countries, especially in Western Europe, have sizable Arab populations. France's Arab population alone has surpassed 10% of its total. Given this demographic structure, incidents of extremism, particularly within Islam, are not uncommon. With the current tragic events in Palestine, if European nations openly supported Israel, it would likely cause domestic uproar. Moreover, if the conflict continues to escalate, resulting in a significant refugee influx, most would likely head to Europe, an outcome they can ill afford. Hence, European countries are extremely cautious. They aim to express support for Israel while also sympathizing with Gaza's civilians. Only the EU President, von der Leyen, staunchly supports Israel. However, this stance blatantly contradicts European interests. Over 800 EU lawmakers and staff jointly criticized her in a written letter. Von der Leyen can almost be dubbed the U.S. ambassador to the EU. Her work predominantly aligns with U.S. interests. She echoes what the U.S. says and even wraps up statements not made by the U.S. to fit their narrative. In early October, von der Leyen led an anti-subsidy investigation into Chinese electric cars. This move seems a bit nonsensical. Chinese electric cars are indeed selling well due to their quality, not necessarily due to low prices, a fact apparent overseas. Even in developing countries like Brazil and Thailand, the same cars are significantly more expensive than in China. Despite this, von der Leyen proceeded with the anti-subsidy investigation, evidently to aid U.S. car sales. The logic isn't complicated. Currently, in the electric car industry, both China and the U.S. lead and are each other's biggest competitors. Provoking a trade war between China and Europe in electric cars at this time would benefit the U.S. In theory, anti-subsidy investigations are for trade protection. If implemented, it should greatly benefit Germany, a major player in the automotive industry. Surprisingly, though, it's Germany opposing this investigation this time. This unexpected move raises questions. What's the actual scenario here? Chinese and American electric cars not only lead but are also rapidly advancing. To quickly bridge the gap, Germany embarked on a massive purchasing spree in China, spearheaded by Volkswagen, which alone invested over $65 billion in China. Under Volkswagen's influence, Audi directly acquired a manufacturing platform in China. These are just existing production capacities or stakes. If all the production lines established by various companies in China were considered, the investments would be even more substantial. In essence, Germany has just begun to expand its presence. If a trade war erupts between China and Europe over electric cars, it would not just compromise investments but also cause significant setbacks. It's not just Germany. Stellantis, a joint venture between Italy and France, also acquired a leading 20% share by investing €1.5 billion, a substantial commitment. Although the electric car industry is led by China and the US, everyone seems to heavily invest in China. Is this trust in China? Or dissatisfaction with the US as the hegemon? 3. Japan, discontent looms. While Australia and the European Union are facing tough times, at least they're engaging in negotiations. In East Asia, however, both Japan and South Korea, two US allies, are in dire straits. Japan's projected GDP for this year is likely to fall below Germany's, ranking fourth globally. Though there are issues with exchange rates, Japan's economic struggles are evident. Not only is the GDP faltering, but exports have also seen a continuous decline for 23 months. For Japan, the plummet in exports is more alarming than the GDP downturn. They heavily rely on exports to sustain their economy, given their limited domestic market. With the economy in such dire straits, the public is undoubtedly dissatisfied. Prime Minister Kishida's approval rating has remained below 30% for 3 consecutive months. Japan's current policies are difficult to sustain. In September, Kishida reshuffled the cabinet, replacing several department heads. However, this move did not significantly improve his approval ratings. In fact, they dropped below 25%. There's a saying in Japanese politics: if a prime minister's approval rating falls below 30%, they enter a dangerous phase. If it drops below 20%, they're essentially on their way out. Kishida's time is running short. Given the global economic downturn and turmoil in Europe and the Middle East, Japan struggles to find new export targets. The only viable opportunity may be China. This year, following the US, Japan imposed restrictions on semiconductor equipment and materials sales to China. Furthermore, their unyielding decision to discharge nuclear wastewater into the sea exacerbated tensions with China, turning their political and economic relations from chilly to frigid. With Japan facing tough times, they must find their own solutions. On October 23, marking the 45th anniversary of the Sino-Japanese Peace and Friendship Treaty, leaders from both countries exchanged congratulatory messages. On October 24, Japan voluntarily replaced its ambassador to China, recalling the hardliner. Of course, this can be seen as Japan's gesture of goodwill amidst the chaos in the Middle East and the US's preoccupations. However, what steps they'll take next remains to be seen. For South Korea, anxious times. South Korea has been genuinely shaken by the Israel-Palestine conflict. To put it simply, if a civilian resistance organization can inflict substantial damage on Israel, then North Korea, with far greater strength, leaves South Korea vulnerable. What does South Korea have for defense? This looming issue is a real shock for South Korea. Everything they've worked on in recent years has been undermined overnight. Consequently, South Korea voluntarily declared its willingness to engage in unconditional dialogue with North Korea. Moreover, on October 14, senior members of South Korea's ruling party collectively resigned. It's quite puzzling, those in power suddenly stepping down. The reasons for the resignations are diverse, but the most credible are twofold. Firstly, it's said that internal party factions had internal strife. The second reason attributes it to Yoon Suk-yeol's unconditional alignment with the US against China while accepting Japan's terms, causing chaos in economics and diplomacy. Regardless of the reasons, the Israel-Palestine conflict acted as a warning bell, triggering internal conflicts within South Korea. Following the failure of the US-South Korea Yellow Sea naval exercise, South Korea realized the limitations and proactively strengthened ties with China, mediating the China-Japan-Korea Foreign Ministers meeting, which had been suspended for 3 years. South Korea witnessed political dramas like opposition leaders going on hunger strikes, the arrest of opposition leaders, and the mass resignation of ruling party leadership under the Yoon Suk-yeol government, leading to an astounding 58% disapproval rate among the public. On November 26, the China-Japan-Korea Foreign Ministers meeting will be held in South Korea, presenting an opportunity for South Korea to reverse the unfavorable situation. This is the end of this video. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and comment. We genuinely appreciate your support.